Every person we meet carries a story, one that is often unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. It is easy to look at someone's present actions and judge them. But if we take a step back, we may begin to realize that their choices, struggles, and behavior are shaped by experiences we may never fully understand. Think about a man who constantly fails in life. Maybe he has lost jobs, ruined relationships, or made bad decisions that seem impossible to forgive. It is natural to assume that he is irresponsible, careless, or simply incapable of change. But what if we knew the full picture? What if he grew up in a broken home, never receiving the love and guidance that others take for granted? What if he battled personal demons, anxiety, depression, or the trauma of losing someone he loved? Suddenly his failures wouldn't seem so simple. They would be part of a deeper struggle, one that cannot be judged with a single glance. The truth is, no one becomes who they are overnight. The strongest men have once been weak, the wisest men have once been lost, and the kindest men have once been broken. Life has a way of shaping people, but sometimes the world is too quick to judge and too slow to understand. We see a man's anger, but not the pain that caused it. We see his silence, but not the battles inside his mind. We see his mistakes, but not the lessons he is trying to learn. History is full of examples of people who were judged too soon. There was a time when Thomas Edison was considered a failure, struggling in school because his teachers thought he wasn't smart enough. There was a time when Nelson Mandela was labeled a criminal, locked away in prison for 27 years. But their stories didn't end there. They prove that people are not defined by where they start, but by how they choose to rise. Closer to home, we all know people who've been written off. Maybe it's a friend who keeps making the wrong choices, a father who never seemed to be there when we needed him, or a brother who has disappointed us one too many times. It's easy to distance ourselves, to believe that some people will never change. But what if all they needed was someone to believe in them? What if they just needed a single voice to say, "I see your struggle, and I know you are more than your mistakes"? Of course, this doesn't mean we should ignore harmful behavior or let people take advantage of us. It simply means that before we give up on someone, we should take a moment to see them for who they truly are, not just who they appear to be at their lowest point. Because sometimes a person isn't failing because they are lazy or careless. Sometimes they are failing because no one has ever taught them how to succeed. Sometimes it's because no one has ever taught them how to succeed. Before we judge a man's actions, let us ask ourselves, do we know his pain? Do we know his fears? Do we know the weight he carries on his shoulders every single day? If we do not, then we have no right to assume that his story is already written. The most beautiful part of a story is that it can change. A person who is lost today can find their way tomorrow. A person who has failed 100 times can succeed on the 101st try. And sometimes all it takes is one person to remind them that their story isn't over yet. Failure is something every person experiences in life. It is painful, disappointing, and sometimes humiliating. It can make a person feel weak, unworthy, and even hopeless. But failure is not the end. It is only a chapter in a much larger story. The way we respond to failure determines whether it becomes a stopping point or a stepping stone towards success. Throughout history, some of the greatest individuals have failed repeatedly before achieving greatness. Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb, was told he was too slow to learn. He failed over 1,000 times before finally succeeding in creating a working invention. If he had given up after his first, 10th, or even 100th failure, the world might have remained in darkness for much longer. But he understood that every failure was a lesson bringing him closer to success. Similarly, Abraham Lincoln faced repeated setbacks in his life. He lost elections, failed in business, and suffered personal tragedies. Many would have given up, believing they were simply not meant to succeed. But Lincoln didn't stop. He kept pushing forward, learning from his failures, and eventually became one of the greatest leaders in history. His journey teaches us that success is not about never failing. It is about never quitting. The world often makes us believe that failure is a sign of weakness. When a person loses a job, fails an exam, or makes a mistake, people judge them, assuming they are not capable enough. But in reality, failure is one of life's greatest teachers. It shows us what doesn't work, what needs to improve, and where we need to grow. Without failure, there would be no learning, no discovery, and no real progress. Even in our personal lives, failure plays a role in shaping us. A student who fails a test may feel like they are not smart enough, but in reality, failure can push them to study harder and find better ways to learn. A businessman who loses money in his first venture might feel discouraged, but that experience can teach him valuable lessons about decision-making and risk management. A person who faces rejection in relationships may think they are not good enough, but in truth, those failures can help them understand themselves better and grow as individuals. Many people fear failure so much that they refuse to take risks or try new things. They stay in their comfort zones, afraid of making mistakes. But the reality is that avoiding failure means avoiding growth. Every great invention, every breakthrough, and every major achievement in history came after repeated failures. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that successful people refuse to let failure define them. Instead of seeing failure as the end, we should see it as a lesson. It is not a signal to stop. It is a challenge to rise again, to improve, and to push forward with even more determination. The most successful people in the world were once in the same place as anyone else who has failed. The only reason they reached greatness is that they didn't let failure defeat them. So the next time failure knocks you down, don't let it convince you that you are not capable. Stand up, learn from it, and move forward. Every failure brings you one step closer to success, as long as you refuse to give up. Failure is not the end. It is only the beginning of something greater. It is human nature to form opinions quickly. We see someone's actions, hear a few words, or notice a mistake, and immediately we decide what kind of person they are. We assume we know their character, their intentions, and their future. But judging too soon can be a serious mistake. It can cause us to misunderstand people, push them away, and even deny them the chance to change or prove themselves. Many times, people act in ways that seem wrong or unacceptable, but we fail to consider what might be behind their actions. A student who never participates in class might seem lazy or uninterested, but maybe he struggles with confidence or has a difficult situation at home. A man who loses his temper easily might seem rude and aggressive, but perhaps he has lived a life full of struggles that have left him with emotional scars. A person who fails repeatedly may appear careless, but maybe they are trying their best while facing obstacles that no one else can see. The problem with judging too soon is that it is based on incomplete information. We see a single moment, a single mistake, or a single failure and assume that it defines a person entirely. But human beings are complex. They have histories, struggles, and experiences that we cannot always see on the surface. By making quick judgments, we fail to see the full picture, and in doing so, we often end up being unfair. There are countless examples in history of people who were judged too soon. Albert Einstein was once considered a slow learner, and his teachers thought he would never achieve anything significant. But he went on to change the world with his brilliant theories in physics. Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was not intelligent, yet he became one of the greatest inventors of all time. If the world had judged them only by their early failures, their true potential would never have been recognized. In our everyday lives, we see similar situations. A person who was dishonest in the past may try to change, but if we judge them based on their past mistakes, we might never give them a second chance. A friend who disappoints us once may not always be unreliable, but if we judge them too quickly, we might lose a valuable friendship. A struggling student might improve if given the right support, but if teachers and classmates judge them as not smart enough, they might lose confidence and stop trying altogether. Another important reason to avoid judging too soon is that people are constantly changing. No one remains the same forever. The person who is weak today might become strong tomorrow. The one who fails now might succeed later. If we freeze our opinion about someone based on a single moment, we deny them the opportunity to grow and prove themselves. Moreover, quick judgment can lead to misunderstandings and unnecessary conflicts. Sometimes people say or do things that we don't agree with, but instead of immediately labeling them as wrong or bad, we should try to understand their perspective. Listening, observing, and asking questions can often reveal that there is more to the story than we initially thought. Instead of judging people too soon, we should practice patience and understanding. We should remind ourselves that everyone is fighting battles we cannot see. A little kindness, a little time, and a little effort to see the bigger picture can change the way we perceive others. In doing so, we not only become fairer in our judgments, but also open the door for stronger relationships, deeper connections, and a world where people are given the space to grow and improve. So before forming a judgment about someone, take a step back. Ask yourself if you truly know their story. Consider the possibility that they might change, that they might be struggling, and that they might deserve a second chance. Because sometimes the biggest mistake we make is not in trusting the wrong person, but in giving up on the right one too soon. In a world filled with challenges, problems, and struggles, it is easy to believe that one person cannot make a difference. We often think that change requires a large group, a powerful leader, or a movement with thousands of people. But history, and even our personal lives, prove that a single person can make an incredible impact. Sometimes all it takes is one voice, one action, or one kind gesture to change someone's life, or even the world. Throughout history, many great movements started with just one individual who refused to give up. Nelson Mandela, despite being imprisoned for 27 years, never lost hope and became the key figure in ending apartheid in South Africa. Mother Teresa started alone, caring for the sick and poor in the streets of Kolkata, yet her kindness inspired millions to serve humanity. Malala Yousafzai, a young girl in Pakistan, spoke up for girls' education despite life-threatening danger, and her voice created a global movement for education rights. These people did not wait for a group or an army to take action. They stood alone and, through their courage, changed the world. But making a difference is not only about changing history. A single person can have a powerful impact in everyday life as well. A teacher who believes in a struggling student can give them the confidence to achieve great things. A doctor who treats one patient with care and kindness can give them hope during their darkest times. A friend who offers a listening ear can save someone from falling into deep sadness. Even a stranger's kind words can turn a bad day into a good one. The influence of one person may seem small, but to the person who is affected, it can mean everything. Many times, people hesitate to act because they feel their contribution is too small to matter. They think, what difference can I make? I am just one person. But real change does not always happen through big actions. Sometimes, it is the small things that create the biggest impact. A single compliment can boost someone's confidence. A small act of generosity can inspire others to do the same. A single person standing up for what is right can encourage others to follow. Consider a story of a young boy walking on a beach where thousands of starfish had washed ashore. He began picking them up one by one and throwing them back into the sea. An older man saw him and said, "There are too many starfish. You can't possibly make a difference." The boy picked up another starfish, threw it into the water, and replied, "I made a difference to that one." This simple story reminds us that we may not be able to change the whole world at once, but we can change one life at a time. The truth is, the world does not change because of big systems or governments alone. It changes because of individuals. people who decide to do something instead of waiting for others to act. Every movement, every revolution, and every meaningful change in history started with one person who believed in making a difference. If we want to see a better world, we must remember that we have the power to be the change. We do not need wealth, power, or fame to make an impact. We only need the willingness to care, to help, and to take action when it matters. Whether it is supporting a friend, standing up against injustice, helping those in need, or simply spreading kindness, one person's actions can create a ripple effect that touches many lives. So never underestimate the power of one. You might be the person who inspires someone to keep going, to believe in themselves, or to dream bigger. You might be the person who makes the world a little kinder, a little fairer, and a little better. Because one person, just one, can truly make a difference. When people make mistakes, disappoint us, or fail repeatedly, our first instinct is often to walk away. We convince ourselves that if they are not willing to change, there is nothing we can do. We assume that leaving them alone will somehow force them to become better. But the truth is, abandoning people doesn't change them. It only makes their struggles harder. Growth, transformation, and healing do not come from isolation. They come from support, guidance, and the belief that change is possible. Many times, people who struggle with bad habits, poor decisions, or failure are already battling inner demons. They may feel worthless, broken, or trapped in a cycle they don't know how to escape. When those around them give up and walk away, it only reinforces their belief that they are beyond saving. They begin to think, if even the people who care about me have lost hope, then maybe I am truly hopeless. Instead of pushing them toward change, abandonment often leads to deeper despair, making them feel even more lost and alone. Think of a child learning to walk. When they fall again and again, do we leave them on the ground and say, if you really wanted to walk, you do it on your own? Of course not. We encourage them, help them up, and remind them that they are capable of standing again. The same is true for people struggling with mistakes and failures. They do not need rejection. They need encouragement, patience, and the reassurance that they are not alone in their journey. There are many real-life examples of people who were written off by society, but transformed because someone refused to abandon them. A student failing in school may seem like they don't care about their future, but sometimes all they need is one teacher who believes in them. A person struggling with addiction may seem like they will never change, but recovery often starts when someone stays by their side instead of walking away. Even criminals who have made serious mistakes have turned their lives around because someone saw the potential in them instead of just their past actions. This does not mean we should tolerate harmful behavior or allow people to continuously hurt us. It is important to set boundaries and protect our own well-being. However, there's a difference between setting limits and completely abandoning someone. We can distance ourselves from toxic actions while still believing in a person's ability to grow. We can hold them accountable for their mistakes while also reminding them that they are capable of being better. Abandoning someone also ignores the fact that change is a process. No one transforms overnight. People learn through trial and error, setbacks, and second chances. If we give up too soon, we might never see the progress they were about to make. Imagine if the greatest leaders, inventors, or artists were abandoned at their lowest points. The world would have lost countless talents simply because no one stayed long enough to see them rise. One of the greatest gifts we can give to another person is belief, the belief that they are more than their worst moment, that they are capable of improvement, and that they are not alone in their struggles. Sometimes that belief is the very thing that inspires them to change. When we refuse to abandon someone, we show them that they are still worthy of effort, that their story isn't over, and that they still have the potential to become better. So before walking away from someone who is struggling, consider this. What if they are waiting for just one person to remind them that change is possible? What if your support is the difference between them giving up and them finding the strength to keep going? Sometimes the greatest transformations happen not because someone was left alone to figure it out, but because someone stood beside them, refusing to give up. Life is full of struggles, challenges, and moments of despair. At times, people feel lost, broken, and unable to move forward. In such moments, hope and support can make all the difference. A little encouragement, a helping hand, or simply the belief that things can get better has the power to transform lives. Hope gives people a reason to keep going, and support provides them with the strength to overcome obstacles. Together, these two forces can turn failures into success stories and pain into healing. Hope is the light that shines even in the darkest times. When people lose hope, they begin to believe that their situation will never improve. They stop trying, stop believing, and sometimes even stop living. But even the smallest spark of hope can change everything. It reminds people that no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always a chance for things to get better. Hope pushes a student to keep studying after failing an exam, encourages a job seeker to keep applying after multiple rejections, and helps a sick person fight for recovery despite the pain. It is the driving force behind every great comeback story. Support, on the other hand, gives people the strength to act on their hope. While hope is the belief that things can improve, support is the force that helps people take the necessary steps toward that improvement. A struggling student can have hope, but without a teacher's guidance, they might not find the right way to succeed. A person battling depression may have a small hope of feeling better, but without a friend's support, they might not find the courage to seek help. Support can come in many forms: emotional encouragement, financial help, guidance, or simply being there for someone when they need it most. There are countless real-life examples of how hope and support have transformed lives. Many successful people faced failure, rejection, or hardship before achieving greatness. Oprah Winfrey was told she was not fit for television, but with hope in herself and the support of those who believed in her, she became one of the most influential women in media. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, but his determination, along with the encouragement of those around him, led to success. Even in personal relationships, people who once felt unloved or unwanted found happiness because someone chose to stay, believe in them, and support them. One of the greatest things about hope and support is that they are free to give. A kind word, a listening ear, or a simple reminder that someone is not alone can change their entire perspective. Sometimes all a person needs to hear is, "I believe in you," or "You are not alone." A single act of kindness, no matter how small, can inspire someone to keep fighting, to keep dreaming, and to keep moving forward. Hope and support do not just change individual lives, they change entire communities and societies. Movements for justice, equality, and freedom have all been driven by people who had hope for a better future and supported each other in achieving it. When people come together to uplift one another, amazing things happen. In the end, everyone goes through difficult times, and everyone needs hope and support at some point in life. Being the person who offers these things to others can make an incredible difference. Whether it is encouraging a friend, helping a family member, or inspiring a stranger, the impact of kindness and belief is immeasurable. When people feel supported and hopeful, they become stronger, braver, and more capable of achieving their dreams. So, whenever you see someone struggling, remember that your words and actions have power. A little hope and a little support can transform lives in ways you may never fully realize. And when you find yourself in difficult times, seek hope and accept support, because no one has to face life's challenges alone.